Nafees Hamid, you were there in Barcelona just a few blocks away when this attack happened. What did you see?
Well, I didn't see the attack itself. I was, as you said, a few blocks away. I could just start hearing the screaming and noise all around me. And I turned around, I basically just saw a tsunami of people running my direction. And as soon as I saw that wave of people coming towards me, my mind immediately knew what had just happened.
And what did you do then?
And then once I got back home, I turned on my computer, started getting messages from people. I realized what had happened. I had slowly made my way back to the police line again.
And did you see anything inside that police line? Did you see any of the carnage there?
They had cordoned off a large enough area that you couldn't really see too much of the horrible footage itself. They were probably anywhere from 2 to 3 blocks in every direction from the actual attack site, going all the way down from Plaza Catalunya all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. So they cordoned off quite a large area. And of course, at that moment, the suspect was still on the run. The suspects were still on the run. So it was an ongoing manhunt. So police were telling people to stay back and to respect the distance that the police had set up.
It looks packed again now. What's happening there today?
So there's thousands of people marching down Las Ramblas, marching in solidarity, people holding signs, not in my name, people clapping, some chants. I've seen people being very emotional out here. I think people just want to show that that Las Ramblas is open for business, that Barcelona is open for business, that people are going to walk down the street. If even just a simple walk can be an act of defiance against the terrorism that happened yesterday.
Spain, of course, is no stranger to terrorism, but this looks like something quite different.
Right, the last big attack was all the way back in 2004, the Madrid train bombings. And since then, there have been small little incidences here and there, but very few casualties. So this is the biggest attack in 13 years on Spanish soil by Islamist terrorism. And it's something that I've studied. We've known that cells have existed here in Barcelona, but for the most part, they've been trying to go elsewhere. There have been hundreds of arrests in the last few years in Barcelona and all over Spain in general, but these were people who were trying to make their way to Syria, trying to go to a foreign battlefield, trying to link up with other networks in Europe, or they were organizing and preparing here in Barcelona, and then they were going to go somewhere else, perhaps Paris or some other area, to carry out the attack. What we saw here today, and we're still learning a lot of information about who these people were, why they carried out the attack in Barcelona, but generally the trend that you're seeing is as the dragnet sort of collapses upon a lot of these cells, people are no longer have the luxury to do these large coordinated attacks in far off areas, so they're attacking more locally, closer to home, trying to maximize the carnage, and oftentimes attacking places that they wouldn't otherwise prefer to attack, but they don't want to tip off authorities by going too far.
I've walked down that boulevard, so many of our viewers would have as well. It seems like an obvious target in modern day terrorism. Had precautions been taken?
There's lots of police force all over Plaza Catalunya on both sides. As I said, it was a very quick response. I guess the only other thing that they could have done was to put up some kind of barriers on the edge of the road. But then you could argue, shouldn't they put up those barriers around the Sagrada Familia? Shouldn't they put up those barriers all over Plaza Catalunya? If someone can't find a target here on Las Ramblas, they can find it somewhere else. Barcelona, especially in August, is a bustling city filled with tourists. They could go on the beach. So there sort of has to be a balance between giving people their freedom and the ability to feel secure traveling around, being in the city, at the same time having actually quick response teams in place.
Just your research on homegrown radicalization in particular, what have you learnt, what have you discovered, particularly there in Spain, but elsewhere in Europe, that is behind what we're seeing all over the Western world?
Yes, I've done research in UK, France, and in Spain, but in other countries as well. I've done field work in Barcelona for about 3 years, interviewing hundreds of people who have sympathies for some of these organizations, some of them who were former members, some of them who were later arrested because they were actually part of a cell that I had accidentally walked up upon. The motivations change over the years. To be honest, before 2014, nobody was ever talking about the caliphate. And the people who were sympathetic were more sympathetic to the global jihad. At the peak of the caliphate, everybody wanted to go to Syria, and they wanted to create a homeland over there. and it was about creating an alternative society, a sort of counterculture. Now that ISIS is on its back foot, there's a change again. A lot of people are now pulling away their sympathy from organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They don't want to mention the names of the organizations itself, but there's still this underlying angst. It's kind of a mixture between anti-establishment sentiments, a revolutionary zeal, a strong sense of personal grievances, wanting to lash back at society, and ultimately a group of friends. And even if you have lone actors who carry out attacks once in a while, they are usually radicalized in groups. They're usually local friends, sitting around, sharing videos, discussing ideas, and co-radicalizing each other by creating an echo chamber, and then eventually pushing each other to the brink of carrying out a terrorist attack.
Nafees Hamid, great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us on Lateline.
Thank you very much.